Alright, so when I was growing up, I was told the two things that you never talk about in public are politics and religion. I don't feel really qualified to talk about politics, so let's give religion a spin. So growing up, my mom always used to say one verse to me. I think it's Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, and they are for good and not for evil. The problem becomes when you stop saying the plan. When I went to college, I'm going to just say, put this back on. So when I actually went to college, it was at Kennesaw State. This is the first time that I had actually got to experience other ideas. I was raised in a small Christian town. I knew everybody in the church that I went to. You weren't allowed to wear a skirt that was above the knee. It was a very, very interesting upbringing. I will say that one of the hardest things about growing up in that town was actually losing my faith. God had always been somebody that I knew I could depend on, or at least I was told that. When I got to college, I stopped seeing the Lord around me. I started seeing judgment. I started seeing people scream about hellfire and brimstone. I started seeing people damning others for things that they couldn't control. I started seeing people that claimed to speak for Jesus but didn't seem to know the Jesus that I did. In fact, they seemed to just ignore the Jesus that I knew. I kind of wanted to talk about between a rock and a hard place. The first time that I went home from college, I sat down with my parents and I told them that I didn't believe anymore. And my mother started to cry. Because wouldn't you? If you had raised your son in the church your entire life and he's now going to hell to burn for all of eternity, that's not a fun thought. It's not exactly exciting, rah-rah. But my dad didn't cry. My dad actually surprised me. He sat next to me on the couch. He put his hand on my knee and he said, "Son, I still love you." And he said, "What I want you to know is that we will always love you. And the Jesus that they talk about is not the one that we raised you with. And anytime you're willing, he's also waiting." I still haven't come back. I'm still not exactly sure on the whole religion thing, to be honest with you. But having to sit there and tell your parents that the way that you were raised is not the way that you want to live your life is not easy. And what it forced me to do was to not just blindly follow a preacher in a tie. It forced me to look for the Jesus that I knew, the Jesus that I was raised with. And I didn't find it in a pulpit. I didn't find it in some stained glass window. I found it in the people that I loved. I found the Jesus that I knew in my friends, in my brothers. Max is one of my fraternity brothers. He's over there. I see Jesus in him every day. I see Jesus in all of you tonight, purely for the fact that we aren't here judging each other. We're here loving each other and listening to each other. And what I would ask of all of you is to not be the Jesus that I saw at college, but to be the Jesus that I saw at home. And that's really all we can ever do. Thank you.